Hey, it's DDY.P.
What's up, everybody? DDY.P here, back with another episode. Kind of a more serious turn today. We're talking about some student loans. I'm Dom, this is Dur, and YP, obviously you guys all know. What you might not know is he is a certified professor.
Certified?
How do you get certified?
I just wanted to make it sound really cool.
Oh,
He's a
okay.
professor, all right?
Actually, one of our old professors.
He teaches stuff. I don't know what stuff. One of us slept through his class.
Who got the higher grade?
You know what? Why you gotta bring grades into this? Grades don't even matter.
That's the outcome that matters.
True. True, true. So today, we're talking about student loans. Professor, care to
Nice.
jump in?
You know, yeah, student loans, and it's a serious thing.
No.
And so many of the students, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are straddled with student loans for varying amounts. And you too?
Yeah.
Yep. And it can hurt. You know, Dom does mortgages and whatnot, and he can attest to that. Can actually hurt when people are trying to buy a house or whatever. It plays a big factor.
Absolutely.
But you know, there's kind of two sides to this, and I wanted to start with you know, hitting up a few facts. But I wanted to start with the actual need for college, because what I get a lot of now is we don't need college. And by college, I'm not just saying, you know, the University of Wisconsin or Minnesota or whatever. I'm also talking about the trade schools, where you might learn other things like welding or electrical work or whatever, the two-year programs, because you qualify for student loans there too. And what I hear from folks now is, well, yeah, but I don't need college because, well, look at Bill Gates.
Yeah.
He didn't need college and he's doing just fine. But that is such a misnomer, really. I mean, very few people end up like Bill Gates, or in this region, John Menard, or all sorts of Steve Jobs when he was around, all sorts of people. And what people don't understand with Bill Gates, for example, is he was blessed with private high school, his parents paid for. They had access at those private high schools to computers, not like what we know, but computers nonetheless. And he learned programming and all this at a high school. So by the time he went to college, his parents were paying for his education at Harvard, and he actually never dropped out. He never formally dropped out. He just sort of left because they developed Windows. You know, the first
What is
software.
Windows? What is Windows?
What is Windows?
I'm kidding.
Yes.
Kidding. Totally
It's
kidding.
something in a house. So basically, Bill Gates is really kind of fool's gold for people, and it's not a good example of that. College is actually a really necessary thing. Over 70% of the people that do drop out of college actually suffer lengthy levels of unemployment or undesirable jobs that really manual labor, or something that maybe you don't want to do. And we were joking actually earlier how manual labor is a young person's job.
Right.
And by the time you're 30, it seems like a long way off, but it's going to hurt.
Creeps up on you.
Yeah, it creeps up on you really quick.
And that kind of, you know, obviously manual labor speaks for itself, but it'll tear up a body.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well,
Numbers
even
on
just
it.
doing high school sports tears up a body.
True.
I mean, I'm still suffering from injuries.
Yep. So at every point of a college graduate's career, every single point, they will make more money than a high school graduate, statistically. Now, there are obviously going to be outliers to that, right? But overall, statistically, that's what's going to happen there. What's interesting is that since 1985, because I hear some students say, well, I can work on a production line, or I can do something like that. But since 1985, about 372,000 or greater manufacturing jobs are eliminated in the United States every single year.
Jeez.
That's technology for you.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. That's a perfect point, Dur. It is technology, because in the last 20 years, software jobs have increased by 500%. 500%.
500%?
Isn't that crazy?
That number seems super obnoxious.
I know, but it's a real number, 500%. And that, you don't get those jobs without going to college.
No.
And what's even more shocking is that in the last 10 years, jobs based on the internet have increased 600%.
Well, I mean, you talk to anyone's kids that are like in elementary school right now. Instead of learning cursive, they're learning how to code.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
In what elementary school?
They are.
All over.
Is that for real?
That is a
It
real
is
thing.
for real.
My kid's definitely going to be smarter than I am.
Well, that's the goal.
Well, already past that. But anyway, what is really tough, though, for people is how do I pay for college?
Right.
And, of course, student loans is the place that most people go to. And there are other methods, right, grants or scholarships or stuff, too. But many people turn to student loans because that's where they have to go. And what I found interesting is, I just want to kind of talk about where student loans started and then kind of where we're at, because it's pretty shocking, and it really formulates this, I think, ethical dilemma as to what happened to get us to where we are right now. So student loans have been around actually a long time, but in 1972, with these federally backed loans, along came Sallie Mae, or was currently known as Sallie Mae, and it was a program through Richard Nixon that allowed banks to inject more money into these student loan programs. And so the idea was good. I mean, the concept of what Richard Nixon was trying to do was give people better access to college.
The thought was there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in Vietnam War. A lot of people can't get to college. So the idea in its purest form was, well, that's a good idea. But the problem became in the 1990s when Sallie Mae became about profits. Okay, there were changes in the laws. It was a kind of a compromise between then President Bill Clinton and the Congress, and it became a privatized thing, and it became a how can we make money. And what happened was, we all know in business, we market.
Right.
We market. And in fact, many of the viewers out there maybe even have degrees in marketing or have taken marketing classes, and we know how important that is to business. Okay?
It's everything to business.
It is. It's everything. It's about making more money. And so what happened is these companies wanted colleges to leave the direct loan program. They wanted them to sign up with them instead. And what I found maybe is one of the most shocking things is these companies were actually paying for cruises and trips for financial aid officers in colleges in the 90s to basically wine and dine them to get them to give the loans that most likely you both have.
Well,
okay,
sure.
and many of you have. And so what I found was, wow, is that ethical? I don't know. I mean, and that's for something for maybe viewers to comment below on what they think about that type of business practice. But even more shocking was that in this same marketing effort of these organizations, what they did was they actually had essentially plants or people that were placed in educational student loan departments of universities or other organizations to push students towards taking their product versus the direct loans.
Yikes.
What did what do you call that, Dom?
I mean, it sounds like a classic bait and switch. Like,
yeah,
this is what you want to have. We got it for you, except it's not what you were looking for.
Right.
Hooray. Like,
right.
That's...
Want to see a magic trick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's when they're in their hands or in your pocket,
Right.
taking more money.
Or
and,
in my wallet, you mean?
Yeah. And here's the problem.
I don't have any money in my pocket.
You don't have any money in your pocket?
I have a wallet.
You're penniless.
Well, now I use, like, my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Samsung Pay.
Technology. So,
600%.
What happened then with Sallie Mae is when you had tough times, now you could work a little bit, but we all know that going to school 15, 18, whatever credits, and then trying to work a full-time job is a really big challenge, if not impossible. So what does Sallie Mae say? Don't worry about it. Take out more loans. And so it's this vicious circle,
right?
They
dig you deeper, deeper.
Yeah,
and
deeper and deeper. And where's the ethics in that? I don't know, right? That's a challenge. So there's a second ethical dilemma, right? So then, when you now are straddled with all this debt, and you're leaving college, you know, now what are you going to do, right? So what I found interesting is that 1 in 4 borrowers are behind in their loans. 25% of borrowers are behind in their loans. Even more shocking, 8 million borrowers are in default.
Of how many total borrowers?
42 million total borrowers.
So like 20%.
Yeah, almost 20% are in default. Gosh. And that accounts for $1.3 trillion in student loan debt. From anywhere from New York to Los Angeles to Minneapolis to Houston, Texas, everywhere in between, 1.3 trillion, 42 million borrowers, 8 million in default.
Yikes.
That is just crazy to me. And what makes it really tough is that when you're in default, when they figure out you're working or whatever it is, they can then garnish your paychecks. Your wages. Yeah, they can garnish. And they want the money back, right? 15% of even Social Security, and that Social Security seems odd, paycheck Social Security, because we're all thinking about our paycheck.
Right.
But because of the current generation that is straddled with this debt, which includes millennials and Gen X, and possibly the next generation as well, Social Security becomes a real issue because that can be garnished. And for people that sit on a fixed income, 15% of that is a big deal. So they want to take that money back, but what makes that even more challenging is that even when they take 15% of your paycheck, let's say you make $1,000 a week, okay? That's $150, right? That's never going to be enough to pay back whatever student loan you had. I mean, it may not even cover the interest.
Right.
So it's this, even though you're paying or being garnished to pay, you may still not be chipping away at the actual principal.
You're just throwing money at it.
Basically.
Like, it's not doing
you
any good.
It is. It's just an amazing vicious cycle. And what makes it even more challenging is that when organizations can successfully lobby or change law to kind of suit their need. And that's exactly what happened with Sallie Mae. So in about 2005, Sallie Mae successfully lobbied to change some of the bankruptcy laws. So you can't file, and that's not entirely true, you can file bankruptcy, but there's a lot of other things to research on that, and that's outside the scope of our video today. But in general, you can't file bankruptcy, Chapter 7 bankruptcy, on student loans. You can't on credit cards or things.
That's nifty.
Yeah, so you're stuck with it. So what I get a kick out of is, imagine you're going to college and you get a bachelor's degree and you owe $80,000 in student loans, which is a very real possibility. $80,000, you are straddled with debt with no way out, or there's no escape.
Yeah,
right?
There's no end.
And you're making decisions about this at 18, 19, 20 years old that impacts your whole life. And at the same time, you're being told you're not old enough to make decisions in other areas, which maybe we'll cover down the road. But to me, this is a real ethical issue as to how we got from 1972 to 2018. Dur, what do you think? After I just hit you with all of that, what do you think about it?
So, what I think about all that being said, it's simply you're digging a hole and you're being trained to just not stop.
Right.
You're just digging and digging and digging and digging. I mean, society today is basically telling you, no, it's okay, debt is okay. Because credit card companies are like, oh yeah, if you use our credit card, you get points. But what they're trying to do is get I'm in the bank space for my day job, and all the basis points. So every single time you swipe your credit card, Visa pays your bank, and it's just revenue in their pocket. You know, just wait. And the history goes with Sallie Mae and all those guys who are running the bank industries today, and they're just crooks. I mean, you see Wells Fargo; they're getting fined every single month for something new. The reason for that is because they don't care. They'll rather pay the fines because they make more money doing the unethical thing than they do paying fines. So realistically,
So it's profitable to just pay the fine.
and be
yeah.
unethical or break the law. I think there should be more tighter laws than that, but that's for a different story. But how that makes me feel, I mean, it makes me feel like this truck we're sitting on right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Old Rusty.
you're there, but you're not going anywhere. That's for sure. You're just broken down. There's nothing else you can do. I mean, I don't know. It's just so
It's symbolic.
it's so crazy. This whole concept is crazy to me. But because there's always the battle of, should I go to college? Should I not? I almost didn't go to college. Well, I didn't even really want to go to college in the first place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, but I went, and I started a degree that I had enjoyment in. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna finish it out. And I'm not even in the industry that I went to school for.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't. A lot of people aren't.
I went the generic sales route in management. So there's that. But the big thing is yeah, I'm in debt to my eyeballs. I actually am purchasing a house, or in the middle of purchasing a house right now, and it affected exactly what my debt to income, and I couldn't get approved for something that I really wanted to, so I had to get into an area that I'm not also pumped up about. But you know, it's not like I'm wearing a bulletproof vest to go get my mail every morning, but it's you know, it's livable and it'll be just fine. But if I had it my way, I'd be in something probably a little nicer area.
Yeah. Dom, what do you think? I mean, there's a lot of numbers. There are a lot of discouraging numbers. I mean, we know we need college, but then we're kind of stuck and straddled with this. What do you think?
You know, I'm kind of in a similar mindset to Dur and what you touched on. Growing up, I was never told I need to go to college. It's something I had to do or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I'm one of the first people in my family to actually graduate from a four-year college. It's a great experience. It's a great time. You learn a lot. The skills and the classes you take, most of them anyways, if you're signing up for the right courses, will very much benefit you in work. And I think you dropped a statistic that said so, that if you graduate and apply what you're using, you're going to generally make more than anyone who only went to high school. And in those instances, I absolutely think it's maybe not necessary for every last person to go to college, but I think the vast majority of people should, and not let the student loan thing deter you, even though it's been the main negative point of this video. I, like Dur, am struggling with, I mean, for lack of a better word, student loans. It's not ideal the way it plays out. I understand, it's a business, and there's a point to make money, and there's we're students, we don't have that great income.
There's a trade-off.
There's got to be some sort of trade-off. There's got to be some sort of middle ground, and I don't know. I'm stuck kind of in that middle. I don't know. I don't want to tell people not to go to college, because I think it's great. I think it gives you better opportunities down the road. You might not land in a job right away for what you went to school for. I think we can all attest to that a little bit. But at the end of the day, I learned more in college than I did in high school, and which I was able to apply. Yeah, I have the student loans to pay for it, but I think in all, at the end of the day, it was worth it. But it's the crippling debt on top of it is just not ideal.
15 years of paying it back, or sometimes
or more. Yeah, and the point of this isn't to discourage people and say, boy, you shouldn't go to college, or you shouldn't have student loans, because the reality is, we know you need to go to college if you want to achieve something bigger, and we know that you're probably going to need help to do that. Most people are not going to have the requisite amounts of money every single semester that you're going to have to pay, and working for it every single semester is probably not going to be the perfect option either for grades or for time or anything. So there's this fine balance, and the one thing that I think or really two things that I want people to walk away from here is, I mean, we've got two guys that graduated college in the last 5 years here, a guy that teaches college here. What I really want you to be thinking about is, A, what is the big picture between business marketing and my spending habits? What do I need? Okay, and to be more critical in looking at how businesses communicate to you And you know, as they do, is it an ethical? Is it a two-way thing? Are you getting this benefit without having to pay for decades or worse? You know, so I want you to think about that, and we also really want people to think about not taking out loans or things like that they don't need. So going back to Sally Mae saying, don't worry about it. Just take out another loan. No big deal. That's a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea, but I'm guilty.
Yeah, but it's because
I think almost all college kids are to some extent. It's I mean,
so easy.
It's right there.
Yeah,
they're gonna give you money. Why not? Why not just a little bit more? Give them through rent for the rest of the year.
Yep.
You know.
So finding a way to really minimize that extra borrowing is the best idea. And what I've recommended to people in the past is maybe keeping your student loans directly to tuition and books, and your job money for your rent and whatever that you need it for. And just plan on the fact that you're not going to be eating steak.
Right.
Okay, you're going to be eating things.
Ramen.
Wait for your steak when you're out of school and you got that big boy, big girl job, you got your house and all that. And just deal with what you have, because in the end, by the time you're 30 years old, you're buying a house. By the time you're in your mid-20s, it's going to be a lot easier on you when you go to the bank and they say, oh, you can get a $150,000 house. Yeah, that's true. If you wouldn't have taken that extra $20,000 over 4 years for regular expenses, you probably could have gotten a $185,000 house. Sorry about that, but that's just life. Yeah.
Right.
So the old adage, the chickens always come home to roost, and they do. They always will.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if I could offer any advice out there, just because we have been there relatively recently, the best advice I can give you guys, and I'd love to just leave you with this, is your ability and your drive to get rid of your debt is gonna help you in the long run. I've found so much more, the pressure is easier lifted if I'm making more of an attempt to pay down my student loans faster.
Yep.
If I don't go out to eat, you know, twice a month and use that extra money and pay down my student loans, I know it makes me feel better. It makes me know that they're going to be gone faster. And I just think all in all, it's probably going to help in the long run when you're buying a house, when you're going for any sort of credit application. I think that's obviously going to help in more ways than one.
Yep.
So I think that's all we had here today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you guys think. We'd love to see if you guys have any more statistics, or questions. We're happy to talk. We want to see some back and forth from you guys. So drop a comment down below, and we will see you next time.